Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. Listen, life could be a bit blur, a bit miserable, a bit dark. So, as usual, we're here to bring you a little bit of light, a little bit of joy. And I reckon today, a little bit of confusion because my brain's gone full ADHD. Someone whose brain is working, thankfully, is Stu. How you doing, Stu?
It's working as well as it normally does, which is about 80% of normal, like to what other people would consider to be normal, I think. But, that's my figure. They'll probably say it's working at like 10% of what a normal person's brain does. But, we're all weird.
And I hate to imagine what mine's working at, in all fairness. I've had one of those, see, look, even now I'm fidgeting with stuff. And full-on ADHD is showing its head. Voice, I don't know. I don't say there. ADHD day. Where it's just completely obvious and everything. My brain is everywhere, so it's really weird.
And is there anything that sort of triggers that, or does it just come on randomly?
I don't know. Obviously, back in the past, if I was having days like this before I realised what was what, it would just knock me. It's sort of like, oh, Brad, you're stupid, you're pathetic, and why'd you keep getting things wrong, and no wonder people are having a go at you and stuff like that. Whereas now, I'm just like, okay, this is a thing, it happens. But weirdly, even though I know I've got ADHD and I've got autism as well, I still can't let myself fully embrace it because I haven't got that bit of paper that says I've got it, which is so stupid. But
yes.
I can't. Because if someone challenged me on it, I haven't got the proof, so I need the proof. And I don't need the proof because anyone who's met me can go, yeah.
I totally know what you mean, though. It is very different because I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, Bob, who I used to work with, his wife had some severe...
Is that an actual person called Bob, or are we just calling him Bob to protect identities? Because it sounds like a protected identity name.
It does, but actually, no, that's his proper name.
Okay, fair enough.
But I won't tell you their I won't tell you their partner's name. But their partner had, some severe issues that were, really stopping them doing things in their daily life, and they thought that they had some sort of, ADHD or autism or ASD, and they needed some sort of a diagnosis. Anyway, it turns out that I can't even remember the name of it. It's a really unusual sort of, I don't know what you call it, but it was an unusual diagnosis, and it took lots and lots of different specialists looking at it before they actually got one. It took about 2 years. So that's all really just to say that, it's you could say that it's obvious that you have ADHD, but at the same time, it could be something slightly different, or it could be something more. Yeah. It's until you get that bit of paper, you can't be 100% confident, can you?
No, not at all. But it's like, again, it's mental illness. It shows on mental conditions. It shows that we're still so far behind, because if someone's broken their leg and their leg's in the wrong direction, you don't go, well, the signs are there, but where's the proof? Doctor hasn't seen it yet and told you you've got a broken leg, and you're like, my leg's going in 3 different directions. Yeah, but, whereas anything to do with the brain, everyone goes, yeah, really? Are you sure?
I know. It's just treated like it doesn't really matter, and that kind of get over it mentality. It's
I literally, last 2 days ago, I literally cried over spilt milk. And it's just like...
Yeah.
I just had a breakdown. It was triggered because I was trying to do something normal, like get something out of a fridge, which people who obviously know me know that could be an issue because I'm partially sighted and I'm still learning to adjust. But I was having a few good days. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and do some more bits for myself. So I tried to get literally a chocolate eclair out the fridge. And the door on our fridge, there's the little plastic bit that you hold the drinks in is broken, and it falls out if you put too much in it or you open the fridge too hard and stuff like. We got used to it, but I done it and that fell out. And as I tried to stop it, I grabbed the milk and knocked the milk down, and that spilt a little bit, and I was okay. Picked it up, put it on the side, picked something else up, put it on the side, knocked the milk down again, and it just went everywhere. And I just lost it with myself. Because it's like, okay, it's a perfectly normal thing to do if you can't see. You're going to make mistakes and stuff like that. But I was just like, you're stupid, Brad, you're stupid, Brad, you're pathetic. And it's just, all those things just hit you.
Yeah.
And it's just, that was a physical thing that caused that. That wasn't to do with me, like, being ADHD, but my ADHD brain went, "You're pathetic." And basically spent its entire time mocking me. So I cried, and it's just stupid. It feels so stupid, but we are ashamed of anything like that as humans, and it's wrong to be ashamed of stuff like that, because we all have visceral reactions to silly little things sometimes.
Yeah, we totally do. And it's totally valid to do that. And one of the things that really upsets me, but it's certainly been more in my mind of this thing described to me as childism, which is treating children, and I'm getting somewhere with this, I promise, but treating children as if they're not functioning individuals, treating them as a child and child as a package. Not giving them like individuality. So stuff like not allowing them to eat or drink when they want when they're in school, and not go to the toilet when they need to, without it being controlled by somebody else. All these things that we take as normal because they've become part of the school system, but they're actually not normal at all. And one of those things is being punished for making mistakes and getting upset with yourself because you're used to being punished, or you're expecting an authority figure to punish you for it. And it's horrible. I mean, obviously you shouldn't go around just smashing stuff because you're being careless, but people don't do that. People with decent proprioception don't do that, but people without decent proprioception do have that problem. That's the problem where there's these things, interoception and proprioception, which are how you control your body, like how you feel and control things internally, like whether you need to eat, whether you need to go to the toilet, and proprioception, which is how you control the external things, like how your limbs move. And some people don't have that level of control, and they will have, by a lot of the time by teachers, have been criticised for this, and it will cause a lot of mental anguish. And just simply being told this stuff exists makes it so much easier to not be frustrated and upset with yourself. But if you've learned that lesson in childhood, you bring it through to adulthood, and you're always going to blame yourself. So I totally understand that, and I feel bad for you that it happened as well.
Yeah. And the problem comes, this is a lot heavier than what I was expecting the opening to be, but there you go. The problem is you then pass that on to your kids and younger generations, because it's all and I do it. I feel really bad that I will do it to, like, Lucas. He'll make a mistake and I'll have a go at him for it. And then I feel bad because I've had a go at him, and I was like, I shouldn't have done that. And I don't know how to then retract that because if I start just apologising for everything, he'll just, he's a teenager, he'll give me more rope to hang myself with. Whilst tightening the noose at the same time. I've mixed up my analogies there.
That's pretty good.
And it's one of those things, just try, it's so difficult to not pass on. It's why sort of like you can't expect sweeping change at an instant. So the whole like trans debate and everything at the moment, we've got to make the stands. We've got to stand up and fight to make sure that our friends and people we love and care about are given the respect they deserve. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of people who have gone over the top, I would say. And I'm not going to say they're wrong. This is just in my opinion. That have gone over the top in the whole, if you buy this game, you're supporting TERFs. I'm like, you're not. No one is supporting TERFs if they buy this game. Now, that's not to say people who buy this game, there aren't some who do support TERFs and have that view, but not everyone who buys this game is supporting TERFs, and that's not going to help the argument at all. That's not going to help where we stand, and it's why I've taken the attitude of, look, you can buy the game, you can enjoy it, you have no judgment from me, however, I can't call you an ally. I can't remember if I said it to you last week on the podcast or if I said it to Lo. It's like going to Anfield, seeing Justice for the 97, and then walking down the road and buying the Sun. You can't do that and consider yourself an ally to the cause. You might support the cause, but you're not willing to put yourself out for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've got Apple products. No, I haven't, actually. My family have people in my family have Apple products, but I've got a Samsung phone. I dare say, they're not clean. I tell you what, I've got an Xbox. I've got, a Steam Deck, who's probably made by, it's probably made by some parts from a company that's a sweatshop in some part of Asia. You know, you can't take that stand, and no one wants you to take a stand against everything. You have got to pick and choose, but you can't have sweeping change because you've got to pass it down. Racism isn't eradicated. It may well be eradicated in the future, and it's not perfect, and there is a lot of racism, but I tell you what, there's a lot less racism than there used to be, and I dare say things like slavery won't make a comeback in the way it used to be. Now, I'm not saying there are modern slaves, and that's a whole other debate, but what we consider slavery, which is rounding up black people, putting them in a boat and sending them over to the America, that's not going to happen again. At least you would hope. But that came through years of change, not just someone's decided and that's it. So, yeah. On the plus side, John Cleese is trying to bring back Fawlty Towers because he believes he's been cancelled by the woke left and wants to bring back Fawlty Towers. That's going to be a car crash, Stu.
I know. We talked about it before. He's one of those who goes, "Oh, I'm being cancelled," he says on radio and on his own dedicated TV show and on Twitter and on all the other social medias and this platform and that platform. And it's just
on
like,
This Morning and on BBC News. Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Now, do you think John Cleese will remember that the reason Fawlty Towers was funny was that Basil Fawlty was the butt of all the jokes?
No.
Or do you reckon he's going to turn it into he's a nasty old fucker?
I think he's going to do it so that he transforms Fawlty into what he sees, what Cleese thinks is a relatable character, i.e., yes, he's frustrated, but he's only frustrated because he's entirely in the right, like all elderly white boomers think. That's what it will be.
It's going to be dreadful, but I can't wait to watch it.
It'll be a car crash. I don't mind watching it, but I will not pay for it in any way or form. It'll be pirated.
If it's on the BBC or something, then I'll stick it on there. I'm not. If it's on something I already own, is where I'll go. I don't think I'd even go out my way to watch it.
No.
But, yeah. Some Fawlty Towers, it's funny still. It's, it's aged like sour milk, most of it, but... Yep. It's also funny because he is the joke. When you look at it from a you lens, now you kind of go, yeah, Basil Fawlty is the joke. He's the one who's out of touch and wrong. But yeah, that's going to be fun to watch.
What I like, and we're really going massively off topic here, but I'm going
to talk about.
I've got practically nothing. But yeah, no, I'm going to say it. Is how when there's comedians, like when there's groups of comedians who become a big thing, it doesn't matter whether it's, Saturday Night Live or whether it's, the new anarchic comics of the early 80s or whether it's the surrealists from the 60s. There's always the ones, there are never like overtly right-wing ones because it puts them off, but there are middle ground sociopathic types. Not necessarily sociopaths, but, they're a middle ground kind of, they're bandwagon jumpers alongside the lefties who don't really have any belief. They're in it for themselves. And Cleese is one of those. So he was quite happy to be on, what was it called? At Last, the 1943 show or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And he did bits on... That Was the Week That Was and stuff like that. And he was happy to pillory the right and the establishment. But it was only because he personally got impacted by them. And you get a lot like that. Ben Elton's another traitor. He did all that with the alternative comics.
Yeah,
he just coasted along. Yeah, he just coasted along with them because he knew it would make him money. To the exact opposite of Alexei Sayle, who is still as left as you can get. I fucking love that man.
Yeah.
So that was just an aside to say, always mistrust any of these anarchists, so-called, because they can just be bandwagon jumping.
Yes. Do you know what? Like, he's well-spoken, and it still bugs me that he's well-spoken because it really messes with my head because of who he's played in the past. But is the right side of politics, when I say he's the right side of politics, he's on the left. He's on the correct
the right side is the left side.
Is Aid Edmondson?
Yes, that's it.
What a kind, lovely guy. Also, I didn't realise he was married to Jennifer Saunders.
I know they've been married for 30 years or something. It's amazing.
And And when you consider some of their comedy from the past and it's stuff like that, he's managed to go, do you know what? Some of my stuff in the past was good for the time, isn't great now. And he's done with it and has moved on. It's the same with the likes of, it's just that whole group, you know, you've got Jennifer Saunders herself, you've got Dawn French. Bizarrely, Lenny Henry's more right than I thought he would be, but there you go.
He's very establishment.
But yeah, Dawn French is, you know, she knows where she is, and it's some of them like the modern comedians. It's, you know, I've really considered who I follow comedian wise. It's like Ricky Gervais let me down, and it's weird to think he's actually of that old establishment, but the fact he's in his 60s. It's ridiculous. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense why he's a bit out of touch. You don't imagine him being that old.
No.
But, you know, the likes of your James A. casters, people will mock them, saying they're not all that funny, some of these modern comedians. What you mean is they're not racist and xenophobic and all that, and you don't not like that comedian.
Yeah.
You know, you want every comedian to be a bit Jim Davidson. Yeah, no, that's done.
Yes, absolutely. I'd read a thing that somebody was talking about the differences in generations, and what they said was that boomers, particularly, their comedy is about the outsider. So they take the piss out of the outsider. Anything that they deem to be not part of their group is the thing that they take the piss out of. Whereas, you know, Generation X, like us, is like it's always the establishment.
Yes.
Whether they are good or not, it will always take the piss out of the establishment. So it doesn't matter if they're left. If Labour were in power, and the alternatives of the day would still take the piss out of them. Whereas modern comedians tend to stay more away from politics. There are political comedians, but it's more about them. It's about taking the piss out of themselves. Yeah. So very different generationally, but yeah, boomers are not the greatest. But I think we should probably move on to talking about video games.
Do you know what else has generations? Oh yeah, look at that. That nice. Works. I know. Video games.
I'm doing the segue bumper for that one.
Okay. Segue. So, Stu, tell me, what generation of video game have you been playing?
Well, I've only been playing modern games this week. A great big bunch of them, some of which we'll talk about in a separate episode. But the only one that I've been playing this week that isn't part of that thing that we're going to talk about in the special episode is the game that you were playing.
We're not hiding. It's not a surprise. We've got a special episode talking about Steam Next Fest. I don't know why Stu's been so cryptic.
I don't know. I was trying to tee you up a little bit, which you've actually teed off, so that's good.
There you go.
But I've been playing what you played last week, The Last Campfire.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's all right. I'm not as over the moon with it as you. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, when it comes to games, I have a visceral reaction to games that other people don't, so that doesn't surprise me.
It's true, and so do I about totally different games. Everybody, there are people who are like, oh, God, this 4X game, I've not been able to sleep, it's so good. And I'm like, what? But, yeah, so...
Australians wouldn't give it anyway, so...
Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. But yes, so I've been playing The Last Campfire, and I like it. It's nice. I don't think it's brilliant. The thing is, it's like, as I've been banging on for ages about, the thing that I have trouble with is like building up games to be larger than they should be through artificial means. And, you know, I played some games like when I was on holiday. Was that only last week? God, that
yes, it was only last week.
Feels like decades ago already.
That's because you've been on a podcast for 15 minutes with me, Stu. We've not even got past the intro, so, you know, I can understand.
Yeah. You know, like when people go into like black holes and then they come out the other end and they're completely changed. That's what it's like.
Change the light bulb.
But yeah, so it's kind of... It's really nice, but I find that a lot of games are padded, and I don't think they're intentionally padded. I think it's just the way that games are constructed these days. And I was playing a load of stuff last week, sort of briefly, just to test out some stuff and test out old hardware, as people won't be surprised to hear. And I was playing a lot of Final Burn Alpha, which is an emulator, and I was playing a lot of arcade games. And I played through like 1941, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, a bunch of other stuff as well. And yeah, okay, they're totally different games, but there's no padding. And what I'll do to back up my argument is use a modern example, and that is an entire company called Nintendo, who also in their first party games do not do unnecessary padding. Now, where I'm going with this is it's a very direct comparison. The gameplay in The Last Campfire is quite similar to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, but with that game you get a 10-15 second intro, perhaps, especially to like the boss levels, and that is it. And then you are in it. And it tells all of its story, like its environment and its characteristics and everything else, through gameplay, through environmental cues, through character interactions, through the way that characters move. It's like a cartoon. And yes, as I always say whenever I bring up Nintendo, comparing other companies to Nintendo is always going to bring them up short, especially if you're talking about quick, arcadey, modern experiences. But it's something that a lot of things could learn from. And from The Last Campfire, I felt that like it's one of those that is absolutely fine when you're going, okay, I've got to walk from this area to the next because that's where the next puzzle is. But that isn't the end of it in games, because you have to come back and do other things and then go back again. And you're spending so much of your, not masses of time, it's probably a 5-hour game in total, but you're spending like what should be quality game time just wandering around a level. And I'm not sure that that's really necessary. And I think also games like Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, those three games, they get it right as well, because when you are traversing, it's all new stuff and it's all very, very different. And these smaller indies are padding, but they're not making it varied enough. So it's a good game. The mechanics are good. I enjoy doing the puzzles, but there's so much just wandering around that it doesn't make me feel relaxed. It makes me feel tense because there's no gameplay in it.
Okay, well, you're wrong and we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
I said about visceral reactions to stuff, and yeah, that's it. We're done. Podcast over. It's been a nice run, etc.
It's been a couple of years. We've done pretty well, but no, I do get visceral reactions, and like I'm overstating the case because I get passionate, and it just makes it seem like too much. But I think it's because I want to make sure that people understand the emphasis and that there are different ways of doing things. And of course, I'm overstating it, and people will find comfort and relaxation in those bits of moving between them. But my personal emotional reaction is not that. It's frustration. It's like I'm seeing the same things over and over again, and
I get it.
Yeah, that repetition doesn't make me comfortable.
I do get it, but for me, and this is why it really stood out to me and why I liked it, the narration of it was just outstanding. Like the narration and the characterization and everything going on there was absolutely outstanding. And those moments of peace between puzzles, and even backtracking on yourself and seeing how the world's changed, or remembering that you could go somewhere else, it just spoke to me in a certain way. And I've heard other people say, like with your, they're not even complaints, but your thoughts on it, where there was a bit too much walking back and forth and stuff like that, where it wasn't needed. And yeah, I get it. I do get it. But for me, that did allow me that downtime. Otherwise, my main fear, it's one of the reasons I struggled a bit with Captain Toad, actually, that there was no payoff to a degree. It was kind of like, level's done, off you go. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And it felt like I needed something else there. I don't want like Assassin's Creed level of padding or anything like that. No one wants that. But looking now at Captain Toad and looking at this linked the puzzles together in a way that I could relate to, that I couldn't do in Captain Toad. And I think Captain Toad is a brilliant game, but it lacked that little something that made it feel like it was an experimental game that would become something else later down the line. Bit like how the original Portal was to Portal 2. Bizarrely, I preferred the original Portal, which was puzzle, in a way. It's almost hypocritical, my thoughts on Portal to Portal 2. But for this, it felt like this was experimental Captain Toad and needed something, whereas the last Campfire was what I wanted from Captain Toad. I think you're right. I think for a lot of people, it's a very good game. It's not the most amazing game. I will give you that one, I think.
Well, no, that's great. I mean, it's one of those things where neither of us are right and neither of us are wrong. It's just how you interact with this stuff. And in fact, you're saying you're right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course you are. You're always right. I'm happy to be completely wrong. It makes me feel happy to know that people engage with these things the way they should be, because there's a lot of beauty in the game, and it's if you connect with that peacefulness, then it becomes restful and it becomes the thing that you want from the game. I don't know. I'm always looking for tension in games. I think that's one of the things. I really like games that are uncomfortable, which sounds weird, but think about Shadow of the Colossus. It's like when you're on what's it called? The horse. Something. Oh, well, doesn't matter. But when you're on the horse and you're going around...
I'm getting never-ending story now, so... no, you've lost me. Carry on. Go on. I know the game and I know what you're talking about, but now I'm thinking that's the name of the horse.
Argo. I think that's what he's called. Argo.
Is that not what he's called in Never-Ending Story?
No. He's what he's called in Shadow of the Colossus.
What's he called in Never-Ending Story? Oh, you
talk. I have no idea. So when you're going on... when you're riding around on the horse and you're approaching a new area, for example, all the architecture and the atmosphere... makes you tense. Artax, okay.
That's Never-Ending Story.
Gotcha. Right.
Carry on.
So when you're doing all that navigation, it's bringing in a kind of quiet tension because it's bleak and empty for a reason, and then when you approach something new, that brings in even more tension because it's like, where is this thing? How much damage can it do to me? All of that kind of thing. And I like that. And I like that in like what I think is the gold standard of narrative-driven games, which is Half-Life 2, which is exactly the same. It's all kind of like any area that you're traversing is just increases the level of tension to the point where you want action so that you can release that tension. And that doesn't make me right. It's just that's what I want. So relaxing games, I conversely, in a very strange way, find quite tense. Yes, no, I'm with you. Part of that, I'm not going to lie, you could have called me anything you wanted, said anything you wanted. All I was doing was humming the Never-Ending Story theme in my head. I do apologise. It really is an ADHD day. Yeah, it really is. That's right. And now I've got a picture, a gif of him trying to pull Artax out of the swamp. That made me cry. I'm not the most empathetic person. That did make me cry, as it probably did anyone who watched it. Yeah, I was lucky. I never saw that as a kid. Did you not? So yeah, the acting of the acting of the kid who played Atreyu in that. Oh God, he deserves an Oscar now for it. Give him an Oscar, because that was the most amazing reaction. It's as though they didn't tell him he was acting and that horse was gonna die. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah, it was the 80s, so yeah. I was going to say, yeah, it was the 80s, so. He just went, oh no, yeah. Frankie, I can't remember who he was. You better save that horse, he's going to die. I know, bloody hell. The things they put kids through back, after making him bond with it for 3 years before the start of the film. No! Wanted to get that proper method acting action. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's okay when it's Stanley Kubrick, but when it's some kid's film, oh God, I'm going to have to dig that out and watch that, see if I can make Edith cry. I think you'll succeed. Yes. But yeah, no, I do. I agree with you. I depends on what mood I'm in as to what I want from a game. And I think I was definitely in a mood when I played it of, I want a short game that I can get through to feel like I've achieved something, but ones that felt like they was offering something up at the same time, and I think that fell right in my wheelhouse. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, good stuff. So, moving on, a complete opposite end of the scale.
I've now decided that I need to do jobs. I need real jobs. So I've become a car mechanic. I've become a cleaner. And I've started repairing PCs, Stu.
Amazing.
I know. Oh, no, sorry, I've been playing video games on my Steam Deck, Stu. Sorry. It's very hard. Those lines are blurred sometimes. Car Mechanic Simulator 21. I've been playing that a lot. Because I always dismissed it as one of those crappy simulator games, because you've got some good simulator games, then you've got crap simulator games. And I always had Car Mechanic Simulator down as one of the crap ones. And to tell you what, it's bloody well not. So it's just really good. You get given as all these simulator games start, is your uncle's dead, and he's left you the business. All of them seem to start with that. If someone can tell me otherwise, let me know. But they always seem to start with a letter from your uncle. And he gives you the garage. And you go, I just heard your uncle's giving you the garage. Here's a car I want you to fix. You're like, okay, so he fixed the car. That's a tutorial. And then you kind of have to build up the business by fixing more cars. How he's had a business for so long when you need to still buy all the upgrades is beyond me. But anyway, so then you can buy upgrades to expand it, do other things and stuff like that. You get more complicated cars to fix. And fixing cars could take, you'll get, there's these things called story cars that come in, and they're like actual, they progress the game, give you lots of money to upgrade and stuff like that. And then you get little individual ones where someone might come in and go, I need an oil change, and you've got to change the oil, or, there's a bit of a rattling sound, so you might need to just change something in the suspension or change the brake disc. Basically, various different levels of what needs to be done and what money you can get. And it can take anywhere between 5 minutes to a couple of hours. And it's brilliant. Yeah. It's just brilliant. I just absolutely adore it. I'm learning things about cars I didn't think I'd ever learn. Obviously, I've learned that if I want to completely strip an engine and fix my partner's car, all I need to do is open it up, look at it, point to the highlighted bits, and they will unscrew themselves and everything, and it'll tell me what to put things back in the right order. But it's just, it's honestly, but I'm learning things about where things are in cars and what they actually do, and it's just really cool. And I've been also doing it with getting back into PC building simulator, which doesn't run as well on the deck, but it's still fun. They need to add a Steam Deck DLC to that. Come on. That's got to happen.
Yeah.
Come on. Let me fix a Steam Deck. And Power Wash Simulator, which is the most cathartic game ever made. I just finished cleaning a playground on it, and that took about 4 hours in total to do across a few days. And then I went, I've got to do an house now. I'll just have a look and see what sort of house it is and how dirty it is. I went, I'll tell you what, I'll just do that garage door. It's there. It's right in front of me. I've cleaned a bit of the wall as well around it. I'll just finish off that wall. Oh, and I've done this bit. And then by the time I realised I'd spent another hour and done half the house.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's got that to it. It's just it's just wonderful. There's no point to it whatsoever. And the reason I wanted to pick it up again, and what's got me into these, is they've just added Croft Manor into the into Power Wash Simulator. So you can go and clean Croft Manor. And
cool as that.
Also, why is Lara Croft letting it get to such a state? She's got help.
Yeah, I know, right? Hasn't she got Rimmer from Red Dwarf?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
that was a deep cut.
Yeah. He could do anything he wants. Because he's Rimmer Arnold Rimmer.
That's right.
More reliable than a garden strimmer.
Something like that.
Yeah. To be fair, I think the garden looks pretty tidy. So, wheelhouse and everything. He knows what he's doing. And it will lead on to something in the Steam Next Fest episode, because I played a game based on all that sort of stuff as well, which is really good. But I also got back into Assemble with Care, which is so lovely. It is one of the loveliest games you will ever play. It kind of takes all the bits of all these simulator games and actually makes a game out of it. A story-led game that's got actually a really nice story to it, but simplifies down the mechanics of fixing things as well to a way that it's enjoyable, and you're not occasionally with like car mechanics simulator, you do get frustrated with certain parts. You're like, oh, I've really got to pull apart an entire engine because it says part not discovered. And you're like, I don't know whether it's here or there, so you've now got to pull apart an entire engine. So I do sometimes go to a guide and go, right, what have I actually got to do? Whereas I would like an option in these games where it just goes, look, we'll take off $10 of what you can earn or something like that, but here's exactly what needs to be done. Because you've called in, I don't know, an assistant or someone who can tell you exactly what needs to be done, so you haven't got to hunt for stuff. Just little quality of life bits, but Assemble Care kind of gets rid of all that. It just goes, look, it's really simple what you got to do. It's all in front of you. We're not going to trick you in any sort of way, and it's lovely. Of all of them, it is the best one. But yeah, I've been sort of spending all my time playing those games, and they are an escape from reality by going into reality. It's like Inception levels of gaming.
Yeah, it's really funny, isn't it? I love these games. I love them in the sense that I really don't like them and don't play them. But I absolutely love the fact that they exist. Like, it really makes me happy because I know how happy they make people. Yeah. And I think, some part of it must be because you're able to take charge of an area that you have no knowledge about and actually do it as if it's a job. But an enjoyable job,
yeah,
and that's absolutely lovely. And I think the level of care and attention they put into it is really great. And it's true, stuff like power washing is dead good fun. Like, it's really good fun. I always try and find excuses to do it, like in my own house, not in the house because that would destroy the house. But out in the garden kind of thing. It's great when you get the opportunity because it's so much fun. And yeah, you don't, but. It's so much faff and it's dirty and messy and it takes all the mess out of it. And yeah, they're brilliant ideas. It's expanded gaming in the right kind of direction, I think. It's lovely to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's I don't want to power wash in real life because it's kind of I don't. If I wanted to do a real job, I'd do a real job. And I can't anyway. I've got too many physical limitations that stop me being able to do that kind of job. But yeah, just the idea of being able to do it because I can and learn all this stuff is just brilliant. More games like that, and I want to see more jobs like that as well. But given the fair treatment, it's like you've got all these bus simulators, and the idea of a bus simulator is really because I love the train sim games, and the train sim games seem to be a bit more serious and realistic about it, and the bus games seem like budget versions of those or like LOL type games. Like, it's hilarious. I want to see that kind of level of attention given to other areas. I'm more than happy to see a taxi driver simulator where you gradually lose your mind. You feel that you're some kind of vigilante. No, where you've actually got to do around, you've got to do a shift and stuff like that, and it's got semi-realistic driving mechanics where you can't break speed limits. I'd be okay with something like that, rather than going the full crazy taxi route. There's so many areas of life where there's jobs you might want to try or do, and just like you're never going to do them. I don't think anyone wants to do like, I don't know, T-Boy Simulator or anything like that, but Surgeon Simulator is a good game, don't get me wrong, but it tries to be funny.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to see a serious version of that.
Yeah.
In using the car mechanic simulator like type idea where, okay, you've got to perform a surgery type and you're this type of surgery, it's heart surgery or something like that. And you get marks on there, and you have to maybe drag your mouse or your controller, perform actions at certain areas, and it does the things for you, and all stuff like that, rather than the look at all the limbs flailing about type stuff, which is fine. But yeah, I want to see more serious base simulator games. I want to cut people open, Stu.
I know you do. I know you do. That's why I've been in touch with the police, in the past, because it's. I think you need to be on some sort of a register, but. Yeah, it's I like, as I said, I like all the concept of it. What I'd like to see, because I think this would be great, and we've talked about it in the past briefly, and it's bringing in AR, actual reality thing.
Yes,
I think there's a real, it could be a real massive leap forward in gaming. So, like when you said you're playing the car mechanic simulator, and the item is flagged, it's coloured, it's lit up, it's telling you which part it is. You could make that a reality. You could have your pair of Google glasses or whatever they come up with next, and you want to replace a carburetor, and it just highlights what a carburetor is, and then it highlights in red what you shouldn't touch, in green the part that you need to unscrew, and in amber the part that will come next. Do all of that, and you could make a game of that if you wanted to as well. You could do it so that like cooking. You could have a thing where the game has a load of recipes, and you unlock recipes by successfully doing other recipes in real life. So there's a real market for that, and I think that could be the next step, the next generation of that kind of idea.
Yeah, but it's the video game industry, so they'll do microtransaction-based plastic tat instead.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, they'll have like gaming like cutlery and cooking implements that you have to buy, and they RFID tag to your headset and all this shit. Yeah. But it might not be in our lifetime, Stu, but I think we will see that down the line, something like that. Yes, please.
Yeah, anything that adds some fun. Do you know what? Great. Talking of fun, before we actually shut up completely for this, I just want to touch on Nintendo Direct last night. I didn't realise it was on, so this is why it's been shoehorned in quite quickly.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a Direct.
Yeah, blimey.
Did you see it?
I didn't watch it live, but I've seen there's about, what did they announce, about 30 games or something?
Yeah. So, a few of them not really that fussed about. Just going to touch on a couple of the major ones. Metroid Prime. Remastered, not the trilogy, unfortunately. They missed a trick there. So, honestly, the best version is still Metro Prime Trilogy via Prime Hack. However, I did pick up the game properly, but I've not played it on a Switch. I've played it on my Steam Deck, and it runs flawlessly at 60 frames per second.
Lovely. Excellent.
Okay. I mean, there's literally, you've just got to get up. So it does require a bit of a tinkering. So, like, Joe Daly got my sort of like Steam Deck, and I'm not playing much with it to do anything other than play games. He's not going to be able to get much done with this, but they probably haven't got Yuzu anyway. You do need to get power tools up and turn off SMT, and then you've got to load up Yuzu and set it to docked mode. Because in handheld mode, it's 30 frames per second. On the Switch, in docked mode, you get a full 60. And yeah, that's just brilliant.
Nice.
And it's just, the U controls work really, really well. So yeah, I've got the game, but I played it completely on my Steam Deck. Nintendo, what you need to start doing is actually embracing something like Yuzu. You could sell Yuzu and sell your games to people, and people would buy them on other systems. Just saying.
Well, that's true. That is true.
Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, he's got a release date again. So that's coming. That's really nice to see. The biggest bombshell for me, though, and the one that is like, this, I actually want to Switch again. I'm very tempted to get a Switch Lite when it's announced a date and stuff like that down the line. Professor Layton. There's a new Professor Layton coming.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I want to Switch.
Yeah, it looks great.
It just does look so good. And yeah, there's just like loads of bits coming out, and there's a Batman Network Collection. Battleman? Mega Man Battle Network Collection. Battleman. That's like your Poundland version, that.
It is.
And I'm still better than Mighty Number 9. Yeah, that's coming out, and that's coming out on Steam. I think they announced like Etrian Odyssey. That's coming out on Steam, probably minus the Switch tax. It's £72 on Switch, apparently. The Etrian Odyssey collection. Oh. £73?
Oh, no.
Zelda, if people care about it.
Yes, I do.
I'm kind of like, yeah, I like it. Honestly, I've never had... See, this is the visceral reaction to things. I know people lose their shit over Zelda. And I'm like, yeah, they're good. It's all right. Because I have to be the opposite for some reason to everyone else.
Edgelord.
I can't help myself. But yeah, loads of good stuff. Pikmin, I didn't get excited over Pikmin. I wasn't that fussed over Pikmin.
No.
Because it just looks like more Pikmin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks all right, yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff looks all right. A lot of it is not for me. But I'm very impressed by that it's taken them such a long time. I think they probably suffered with the COVID restrictions a lot more than the West did, and it's taken time. But yeah, some really good stuff. I
did get angry though at Pikmin.
Why?
For no other reason. They've got like a dog-like character.
Yeah.
Right, and I thought it was a pig, and I went Pikmin. And it's a dog, and it barked, and they didn't call it Pikmin. They need to redo that game from scratch and have that character a pig, so they can call it a Pikmin.
That's a really good idea. I like that idea.
So, sorry everyone, we're going to delay your game just because I want it to be a Pikmin, not a dog.
Yeah. Well, yes, very good indeed. And when we've picked some of them games up, because some of them are available now, like you said with Metroid, we'll definitely be covering them as well.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, it was a brilliant direct. Even as someone who doesn't have a Switch at the moment that they play, it was absolutely brilliant. And it's like, I was excited watching it. So I was excited for everyone else as well who was excited. So again, I was really happy for the people that saw the games they wanted. And yeah, but Professor Layton's coming.
Yay, I love that game.
Yeah. But on that, I'm going to shut up now because we've got to record another episode and I dragged this one out too long. I'm sorry, Stu. So I'm going to shut up now.
I'll forgive you. So yes, make sure you tune into the special about Steam Next Fest. Even if you're not into Steam at the moment, it's definitely worth listening to if you've got any interest in computer gaming. And other than that, follow us on all the socials, and we will speak next week. Stay safe and stay sane.